Welcome to an all-new episode of SJHL Weekly. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jeromy Corrigan, and we're going to be joined by Rory and Jamie here shortly. Of course, we have a great episode planned for you guys. We're going to be talking about a recap, of course, of the weekend that was in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. We're also going to be joined by forward for the Weyburn Red Wings, Ryley Morgan. He's been red hot since joining the Red Wings, so we'll get his thoughts on the season. And we'll also have another great edition of Buy It or Sell It. But before we get into today's show, we have to give a big shout out to our sponsors, because without their support, this show would not be possible. So a big shout out to Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Cantera Seeds, RBC, SaskTel, SGU, Direct West, Tourism Saskatchewan, SGI Saskatchewan, Construction Safety Association, Young's Equipment. Thank you so much for your support. As you can see, all the great sponsors on our screen, because of course without their support, this show would not be possible. So let's bring in our co-hosts, Rory Mcgouran, Jamie Neugebauer. Fellas, how are we doing?
Very well. Yeah.
Good. How's the weekend?
Awesome weekend, and great to have you back as well.
We're back, guys. You know what? I did the math. It's been 2 months since we did an in-person show, the three of us. It's been a while.
Yeah, the boys are back in town, the old Thin Lizzy.
That is what they said. Big shout out to producer Clark for filling in last week. He did a great job with you guys. And of course, I was away in Winnipeg for the SJHL MJHL showcase. And before we get into the weekend that was in the SJHL, I want to get your guys' thoughts on the SJHL MJHL showcase. I know you both were watching on Hockey TV from afar, but I'll start with you, Nugsy. What kind of stood out for you in the SJHL MJHL showcase?
Yeah, you know what? I think it went in a lot of ways kind of what I expected in terms of the U20 team that had a lot of chemistry there with Battlefords and Melfort lighting it up. They were really, really, really impressive. And even more than that, Rory and I were gushing on both the U18 team, how good they were. And even the first game, even though it was a one-goal game, I think it was more a one-goal game because they took their foot off the gas more than anything. And second game, they didn't take their foot off the gas, and it was an 8-2 dominant show. So they put on a show. We could go down the list of the players that impressed. It would be a long show if we did that. But big-time kudos to everybody involved.
Rory?
Yeah, it was a fantastic event. Everyone down there in Manitoba did an unreal job at putting this together. But a few of our buy it or sell it for the showcase landed, right? The SJ gets their revenge after the 2020 SJHL MJHL showcase here in Regina. They take 4 out of 6 games, and the 2 top leading scorers of the tournament both came from the U18 team. So shout out to Tim Kim and Jackson Allen of Humboldt and Battlefords respectively. And then you gotta love the story of Cam Herdlicka as well, right? Was omitted from the initial roster. Joel Favreau suffers an injury beforehand. Herdlicka in, shutout. So I loved it. A little chip on the shoulder interview afterwards too. So those are kind of my takeaways. But overall, it was a great event for both leagues, and nice to see Saskatchewan take that 4-2 win.
And we talked about how many goals would be scored too. There was plenty of goals.
It did hit the over.
It hit the over hard. It hit the over hard. Yeah, it was about 42. I think
42.
Also,
so.
Lots of great storylines to come out of the SJHL MJHL showcase. And to echo what Rory said, huge shout out to everybody with the Manitoba Junior Hockey League for putting on a fantastic event. There was a lot of scouts in attendance, and the event's just going to keep growing and growing. So let's move on to this past weekend in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. For a weekend, it was a bit quieter than normal because of the showcase. But let's get into Friday. It's not too often you're only going to see 2 games on a Friday. But the Weyburn Red Wings pick up a 4-3 shootout win over the L'Orange Ice Wolves. Of course, L'Orange kicking off 4 games in 5 nights. And the Humboldt Broncos with a big 6-1 win over the Melville Millionaires. And of course, all of our look-backs are presented by Sask Lotteries. And then if we slide to Saturday, 4 games on the schedule. L'Orange falling 4-3 in Melville to the Millionaires. The Mills snapping a 7-game losing streak. Yorkton with a big 3-2 overtime win over the Weyburn Red Wings, but Weyburn has points in their last 7 games. Battlefords with a 6-4 win over Melfort, and Flin Flon with the 1-goal edge over Nipawin, winning 4-3. And then finally, yesterday afternoon in Kindersley, the Clippers knocking off the Melfort Mustangs 5-2. Kindersley 2-0 against Melfort this season. But because we don't have that many games to talk about this week, guys, let's just run through them all. Because let's start with Friday night. Weyburn, Larange. Of course, I mentioned 4 games in 5 nights. Not an easy stretch for the Larange Ice Wolves, but we've talked about before how well Weyburn's been playing since Ryley Morgan, who's going to be our guest here today. And they picked up another big 2 points over the Larange Ice Wolves there, Rory.
Yeah, you got to love the way Weyburn's rolling right now. He's second best record in the league over the past 10 games. And again, I'm going to leave a lot of the Weyburn talk in their 2 wins this weekend to Ryley Morgan and how it went. But shout out to Eric Kale, the young 2006 goaltender who was just drafted in June, picks up another win. And, you just love seeing those youngsters come into the league. And then I also would have loved to see Cody Mapes maybe throw Ryley Morgan in as that third shooter in the shootout. He didn't get to shoot, but that would have been a little interesting wrinkle. He didn't need to. Weyburn picked it up in a shootout anyways. And then on the Larange side, this is their second of 8 straight road games. And we know they have a little bit of struggles on the road, so they're going to need to try to solve some out, or else they can see that stranglehold on home ice advantage start to kind of slip away, and as the other teams will push them out of that second spot.
Let's get your thoughts on Larange.
Well, I mean, just quickly about Weyburn too. 6 of their last 8 games are 1-goal games, 6-0-2 over that span. But you said it; they have points in about 100 straight games. The last regulation loss was against Battlefords. Everybody's going to have their trouble with Battleford. So, kudos to them. Points in 6 of 7 for Mason. He and Jackson Hassman, Ryley Morgan, that line, as that line goes, they're not bad down through their lineup, no question about it. But as that line goes, in a lot of ways, offensively, productively, that team will go. And they found a way to play a certain style defensively that's simple and smart and safe. And then they let their forwards get going. And, kudos to those 3 that carry the water a little bit up front. Very, very impressive. And Jackson Pollock, or Simon Pollock, not Jackson Pollock. Simon Pollock in the shootout. What a beautiful, move that he put on to score the winner there against Larange. But, yeah, no, to your point about Larange, we'll talk about them more, I think, later, too. But, all year long, we've said this is an issue with Larange. Are they going to fall apart now? And for all the times, all the things that we might say today, they're still in second place in the league.
That's true.
And, the power rankings have them a little bit lower, and people say, can they win the same on the road as they do at home? And is it sustainable for them to give up as many shots as they do? Only the Kindersley Clippers have given up more shots per game than Larange. And as you point out, Rory, a lot, that obviously the rink is conducive to giving up a lot of shots, and totally fair. But again, it doesn't seem like it's a way to play that is, conducive to sticking around at the top of the standings, but still doubting Kevin Kaminski's team has gotten us in trouble before, so it's hard to do it now too.
Isn't Jackson Pollock a painter?
I think so. Yeah, Simon Pollock, one of the underrated players in our league.
Sophistication here from Nukes.
There you go. The other game on Friday, and I'll let Rory take this one because you were calling the game. Sure. The Humboldt Broncos with a 6-1 win over Melville. Pretty impressive performance by the Broncos.
It was a pretty dominating game. They outshot them 11-0 at one point. Melville did push at the end of the first, but then the second period, the Broncos outshot them 24-3. So really, they just were in control of the game at home, as they really have been the majority of their home games all season long. Quietly, Alex Soretsky has been the best scorer in the SJHL, not named Kean Bell, over the past little while. He's got 13 goals in his last 15 games. It matches Cole Dupro, so he's been producing. And the Humboldt Broncos are just getting a balanced attack from everyone. For instance, in that game, in a smaller sample size, 7 of their players had multi-point games. And they've been getting that since the start of January, at least. They have 11 players with at least 27 points. That's the most in the league. It's 3 lines of forwards that are producing. It's half the defensemen that are producing. And that has kind of led them to an 8-2 record over some really tough teams over the past 10 games. But it's just kind of been all systems going. There isn't a lot of sort of slow-moving parts in the engine. Everything's just rolling right now, and that's what that 6-1 win was.
Yeah, and that's good for the Humboldt Broncos. Of course, I'm sure they have their eyes set trying to get second place in the SJHL standings, because right now the standings, especially near the top, it's very congested, to say the least. Moving on to Saturday, after losing 6-1 to the Humboldt Broncos, the Melville Millionaires bouncing back with a 4-3 win over the Larange Ice. Well, that's a feel-good win for Melville. They had dropped 7 games in a row, and to win on home ice in front of your fans against a good Larange team that we've talked about, Nugsy, I mean, for the Mills, that must feel pretty good.
Yeah, you know what? Melville, 13 points out with 13 games to go. That means there's 26 points on the table. And they're not a young team. They're not a poor team. We've talked all year, maybe a team that's underachieved, but, there's no point in giving up in Melville, and especially when you got a guy like Jackson Martins. We talked about his character after that trade from Flin Flon, where he has really put it in. He's got goals in 6 of his last 8 games. The consistency, for Jackson Martins is great, and maybe you say you go to a team, you play well at a good team that's doing really well, and then you go to a team that's rebuilding, we'll say, and retooling, and then the production falls off, and you see that all the time with guys, and they use that as an excuse. But again, not Jackson Martins, and it's him and Carter and McKay, the young kid, 05, who was great at the showcase, and Ethan Anstey, his former teammate there in Flin Flon, have been phenomenal together. We saw 2 goals there from Sam Schofield, who has been steady. They brought him in to be a big reason for a turnaround there in Melville too, and he's been steady, but good for him to find the back of the net. He's had a hard time putting the puck in the net. And the last thing I'll say is, against L'Orange, it wasn't the best night for Topher Chirico, but that being said, I think he's got more than enough credit from that L'Orange coaching staff, the way he's played this year, especially those 2 games against Nipawin last weekend. He built up some credit. So, I'm sure Topher Chirico will just throw that one away and say, I could do better, and everybody in L'Orange knows he can do better. So, there's brighter days ahead for Topher Chirico for sure.
Yeah, I love the win for Melville. Nugsy said they have 13 games left. It's not that they're only chasing one team, though. You have 4 teams ahead of you that you really got to try and shake off. So my opinion is they got to win 11 of them, 10 or 11 of those 13 games to really give them a shot. Because, maybe Yorkton picks up 6, and now you're not chasing just Weyburn, you're chasing Yorkton. They play each other. So it's really difficult to make up that much ground, but not impossible. You mentioned Schofield, 9 points in his last 7 games along the line with Jackson Martin. Those 2 have been fantastic. You're absolutely right. And then I'm not actually going to blame Topher Chirico for a lot of this. I didn't like the 1 goal from behind the net.
Sure.
The other one went off the defenseman's leg and kind of redirected, and Miles Gust put it in his own net. And the goal by Matt Jemis, it's not Chirico's fault. Jemis skates around 3 defensemen for L'Orange, and they didn't really pick up that play. So those are 3 out of the 4 goals. I think they need to tighten up a bit in their own zone, and they could have had this 2 points, L'Orange, easily. But again, Melville just capitalized on their opportunities.
For sure.
Of course, one that Chirico would want back, but I think just a little bit too loose in the house.
For sure. Speaking of teams that are similar in chasing, trying to get back in the race, going to be an uphill climb is the Yorkton Terriers. They needed a win against the Weyburn Red Wings if they wanted to start that climb back up. And, they pick up a 3-2 overtime win over the Weyburn Red Wings. They gain a point, but it's one of those cases where, Yorkton's going to have to do some damage down the stretch and win a majority of their games if they want to get back in the race for it.
Huge win.
Yeah.
Huge win, yes. They need to pick up wins in these games.
100%.
And they did. Of course, Weyburn got the extra point.
Yeah.
You don't like seeing those 3-point games when you're a Yorkton Terriers fan. I will have to cater on the side of caution when we're talking about Yorkton because they have such a difficult February schedule.
They do.
Sorry, my laptop's over here, so if my head turns away from the camera. They have 2 against Flin Flon, 2 against Melfort, 2 against Weyburn, must-win games.
100%.
1 against Battlefords and 1 against Estevan. It's a murderer's row of games for Yorkton in February. But yeah, I think for the Weyburn Red Wings, that's just a tough play in the neutral zone for the OT winner. Both defensemen caught flat-footed, and Pavel McKenzie gets in right behind them. So one that Cody Mapes is going to want to address because you see it on the replay there, and those defensemen had no chance as soon as McKenzie got the puck from Butts and a breakaway from the blue line in.
What I was going to say, though, I guess with that schedule that you mentioned, they've played well against Flin Flon this year. They've won 2 games in the Whitney Forums. Not many teams can say that.
What I'll say, too, and I've said this numerous times about Matt Hare in Yorkton, he loves to play the spoiler. He loves to play the underdog. A couple of years ago, Battlefords was 26-3 at one point in the 1920 season, and those 3 losses were against Yorkton. Obviously, Yorkton had Chance Petruic that year. Don't have Chance Petruic right now, but that's all being said. Matt Hare can coach a spoiler, can coach an underdog, and
well,
a big
even last
piece
playoffs, Yorkton defeats Melfort.
There you go.
Playoffs,
and
right?
few people picked Melfort.
100%.
A few people picked Yorkton, and big for Yorkton right now is, and we were talking about where did Caleb Allen go. He's back, folks.
Yeah.
46 saves. He was awesome, especially in a second and third period. That Weyburn was the better team. I think even Matt Hare would probably agree if he was sitting here with us right now that Yorkton, that Weyburn, were the better team in the second and third. And Caleb Allen was awesome. The old Caleb Allen that we the start of the year. And that's, you talked about, how they do against Flin Flon. They do pretty good. Matt Hare can coach an underdog, and most importantly, Caleb Allen is maybe back to Caleb Allen. So it's only one game, but it's a great first step for Caleb.
Yeah, it's only one game, but this week is a big one for them because they have a home game against Flin Flon and then a home against Melfort Friday, Saturday. So a big weekend for the Yorkton Terriers. Speaking of Melfort, they were on the road this weekend for 2 games. Let's start with the first one. They fall 6-4 to Battleford. Not a good start for the Melfort Mustangs, but boy, oh boy, they made a great push at the end to try and get back in that hockey game.
Yeah, I think three third period goals for Melfort.
2 with the empty net.
And we've talked a lot about how good Battleford's is in third periods. Sometimes they start slow and they figure it out by the end, and we saw that on Thursday going back against Notre Dame. Notre Dame with a great start and Battleford's with a great finish, but it's kind of the reverse what we usually see from Battleford's. They got out to a big lead and then were able to just kind of hold on, and Benny Tkachuk, what a man on a mission he has been, right? Getting that commitment weight off his shoulders has been big. He committed on January the 13th to the University of Saskatchewan. He had 5 points that day against Humboldt. Sorry to bring back maybe a painful memory, Rory, but
not at all. It was a great game by him. I love to see good hockey, man.
Yeah.
He was unreal.
He's had 20 points in 10 games since he committed, and you love to see a kid just throw that off. And obviously, health is a factor for him. He's been healthy. That's a big part. Obviously, his line is all 20-year-olds. With Huxley and LaRue, and they're as good as anybody when they were going. But again, this is an enigmatic Melfort team. Everybody's been like, "Oh, why is Melville not climbing to their heights that we expected?"
Right.
I think Melfort, in some ways, has been just as enigmatic to me, just as unpredictable. And obviously, a big part of it is they're a different team at the Northern Lights Palace than they are elsewhere. They're 14-4-3 in Melfort. They have a great record, so as you could probably do some math, they're not as good on the road. They're 2-5 in road games in 2023. So, it's hard to understand why Melfort is plus 45 at home and plus like 4 or 5 or something on the road. But they're a good team. That they should be better than that on the road, and I'm sure Trevor Blevins would agree. But again, Battleford is going to beat a lot of people a lot of nights, and it was pretty good effort for Melfort that night.
For sure.
Jackson Pollock and enigmatic. He's bringing out the guns
He
tonight.
is on fire right now.
Bring out the dictionary.
I just want to say how awesome is it though to watch this story develop with Kean Bell and his uncle Mark Smith, right? I don't know if people are unfamiliar with it. Kean Bell, of course, on pace for 50 goals. The last time a Battleford's North Star scored 50 goals was back in 1991-1992 season, and it was Kean Bell's uncle, Mark Smith. So he's trying to catch his uncle, and he's on pace. He's going to do it, obviously, but that story's awesome.
Rory, you asked him about it, I think, when he was on.
Yeah.
There was a twinkle in his eye.
There was.
And he was like, I'm going to do it. I'm gonna do it. He's going to do it.
And because he had 51 and 50, did he not? Is that what he said his uncle had?
Yeah, I do believe
51 goals in 50 games. So that's what he's trying to get to beat it. He doesn't just want the 50 goal stature.
He wants to beat his uncle's record.
Yeah,
hold that thought, folks. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we will put a pin in it. I do want to just give a shout out to our good friend Marty Martinson. He actually wrote a really good article with a feature of Keon and his uncle regarding this chase. If you get a chance, check it out, balfordsnow.com. A really well done feature. Quickly, final game from Saturday. It was an important one. Similar to Humboldt, Flin Flon picking up a big 2 points in their battle between near the top of the standings, a 4-3 win over Nipawin. Big win for the Bombers.
Huge win for the Bombers. I will say 2 points, one for each team. Whoever gets Nipawin in the first round of the playoffs, be prepared to work your butt off.
100%.
If Nipawin's, if one of their goaltenders can get hot, they are a dark horse for a first round upset over any team in the league. I would pick them right now.
Right.
Flin Flon took care of business at home. They had to. Power play was a feature here for both teams. Flin Flon 2 for 5, Nipawin 2 for 4, and Cole Dupro now has 9 goals in his last 5 games. So we talked how good his Kean Bell goal scoring. Alex Soretsky's on a tear right now. Dupro's been doing it for the whole year as well. 33 goals on the season, I believe. So those are my points for the 2 games. but man, I know you want to get into second place. You mentioned the Humboldt Broncos, but it looks like you might be playing Nipawin, and that's no easy out, I'll tell you right now.
But good for ticket sales.
Beautiful, only 2 hours away.
Great for ticket sales.
Yes.
And despite the loss for the Nipawin Hawks in that game, like Rory mentioned, they've been playing some great hockey as of late, and that is where we're actually going to find our Tourism Saskatchewan highlight of the week. Have a look.
1:25 to go in the Nipawin power play. 8:12 remaining in the third period. Flin Flon in front, 4-2. Here's Maven. Back to Buchberger. To Stewart. Long shot. They score. What a beauty. One-timer and in by Joel Maven. And want to talk about a highlight reel goal? That was a highlight reel goal.
So here's the thing. If the legend Rob Hart says it's a highlight reel goal,
gotta put it.
It's a highlight reel goal, folks. And it was. I mean, what a pass by Xander Stewart, backdoor. And we've talked about how good Xander Stewart's been this year. I mean, he's second among SJHL defensemen in scoring. I mean, that just shows how talented he is.
His vision's really second to none,
Yeah, he's a great passer. He's so good at getting pucks through. So many highlights we've seen from him too is just like so many D-men get their shots blocked off their shin pads, and he's just got that knack of a little bit of a shift here, use that edge, use that power stride to your right or to your left, and get it through somehow. And there you go. He was composed enough to find the pass. Friend of the show, Braxton Buchberger, involved there too. Being part of in the goalie's vision. But beautiful finish too by Joel Maben, who is one of the underrated players too. I think in the league we heard Braxton Buchberger talk about how accurate Joel Maven is. She didn't need to be accurate on that one, but you're right, Rory. And Tad Kozin put together this team, very, very specifically to skate and skate and skate, and they can fly even in a small rink. It doesn't matter. Hockey is hockey. If you got a great skating team like Nipawin, it's going to really help you out. And they swarm. They use their speed. They do a great job on the counterattack. Yeah, they're playing good hockey right now.
And I guess finally, just quickly before we go to break, a big win for Kindersley yesterday afternoon against the Melfort Mustangs. We talked about Melfort. Tough weekend for them, but they fall to Kindersley Clipper. Good for Kindersley to get it back on the ice, win at home. A good feel-good win for them.
Really good feel-good win. Linklater, Hilbig, your usual suspects for Kindersley. They got to be their best players, and they were that night. And you mentioned 2-0 against the Melfort Mustangs. I'm going to attribute a little bit of that. Melfort played Battlefords the night before, both games. So, I mean, did they put all their eggs into the basket in Melfort and then came out and weren't as attentive in the game in Kindersley? Maybe, but you can't do that in this league. You can't take a night off, and that's when Kindersley will make you pay.
And a healthy Logan Linklater has obviously been huge for Kindersley and for Tylen Hilbig. 10 points in 5 games for Tylen Hilbig, 9 and 5 for Linklater. And I saw the spark starting at Notre Dame a couple weeks ago there for Kindersley when they crushed Notre Dame for Kindersley's first road win of the year. Kindersley's above 500, guys, at home. Think about that for a second for the 12th place team. They're above 500
it's just
at
been
home.
Road woes,
just
right?
road woes, but amazing. They're really, really tough to play against at the West Central Event Center. Really tough.
Yeah, very tough rink to play in here in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. After the break, we are going to be joined by forward for the Weyburn Red Wings, Ryley Morgan, get his thoughts on the season so far. And, of course, a big weekend for the Weyburn Red Wings, who got 3 out of a possible 4 points. That will be coming up right after the break. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
Get red and ready with Case IH and Young's equipment. From Case IH combines to MacDon headers, Young's carries all the best in new or pre-owned harvest equipment. With field-ready, industry-leading equipment and highly dedicated service staff, we're here when you need us most. Come experience our award-winning service for yourself and visit youngs.ca to find your nearest Young's equipment location.
For victims of domestic abuse, fleeing may mean leaving everything behind. There is hope. SaskTel provides brand new cell phones so that starting over is possible. Learn more at sasktel.com/fresh start.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Give me more. Hey. Give me more. You got that thing that I'm looking for. Yeah, give me more.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
Capital Auto Mall is a proud partner of the SJHL, supporting the rich traditions and proud future of junior hockey in Saskatchewan. Capital Auto Mall, on the corner of Rochdale and Pasqua in Regina.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Jamie, Rory, Jeromy. Thank you so much for joining us here today on a pretty warm day here in Saskatchewan for the beginning of February. Definitely can't complain about that, but it's time to head to the video chat line where we're pleased to be joined by Weyburn Red Wings forward Ryley Morgan. Ryley, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. How's it going today?
Yeah, no, good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Are you guys getting ready for practice?
Yeah, no, we have practice right after this, actually. Busy morning, volunteering and then a workout, so.
Fair enough. Well, we appreciate your time today. First and foremost, I'll start with a nice, easy question for you. 3 out of a possible 4 points this weekend for the Weyburn Red Wings. What did you think of your team's play?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, it's good. We're finding ways to get points here and win, which we weren't doing before Christmas, so that's huge. Winning that one in a shootout against L'Orange, and then ran into a bit of trouble penalty there against Yorkton, and still squeaked out a point, but unfortunately lost that one in OT. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, for sure. Wheels, can I call you Wheels? Is that all right?
Yeah, go for it, for sure. Haven't heard that one.
Maybe, can you tell us where you got that nickname? I heard Kyle Schneider, the assistant up in L'Orange post-game, refer to you that way. So maybe you could tell us where you got that nickname.
Yeah, no, it's all him. It's all Schneids, actually. He came up with it over there and kind of stuck, so.
Okay, fair enough. Real question then. You guys are so tough at home at Crescent Point Place. I think 10 games, getting close to 10 games above 500 there. You know, what is it about, playing at home that fires you guys up so well?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, we have some amazing fans, and maybe that plays a part into it, but we always find a way to be extra motivated at home and come out super hot. So I don't know what it is, but yeah, maybe we can start bringing that on the road more often here towards the end.
Hey, Ryley, Nuges, you mentioned it in an earlier segment. When your line has been going, the Weyburn Red Wings have been going. Mm-hmm. What's it been like playing with Jackson Hassman and Ty Mason and all the offense you guys are able to create while staying defensively responsible?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, ever since I came here, right off the bat, had some chemistry with Ty. That doesn't happen very often. So obviously super excited about that. And Hassman was a huge addition to our line. We've been rolling lately, and it definitely led to some success. But everyone's stepping up here in Weyburn. Everyone throughout the whole lineup. If our line isn't going, we got through and through the lineup guys who will step up and get the job done. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, and speaking of awesome, obviously you talked about that chemistry with Morgan and with Hassman there, but it seemed like you and Steve Kesslering there at the showcase had some pretty incredible chemistry. Both of you can fly, maybe that helped. But just talk about your showcase experience overall, how much fun you had. Looked like you played free, fun, and easy, and played really well.
Yeah, no, it was super fun. I'm super lucky to be able to have good line mates there with Martins and Kesslering, and yeah, it was awesome playing with, high-end D-men and elite players who can move the puck. And Yeah, it was super fun. Again, didn't take too long to build some chemistry with our line there, and yeah, it was smooth sailing from there. We just kept rolling.
Hey, Ryley, again, thanks for joining us. Last week on the show, I talked about the Weyburn Red Wings, and I said I've never seen a team mature and develop and grow as I have Weyburn throughout the start of a year to where you guys are now. I know you've only been there for a couple months, 18 games or so. How much have you seen that since you've been there and the team's ability to really believe in each other and get into a playoff spot? And now you're even pushing for 7th, maybe 6th.
Yeah, no, like you said there, we definitely have a lot of belief here. We've definitely grown, and like I said, we're really finding ways to grab points and find ways to win rather than to lose, right? So definitely been on a bit of a heater here, and hopefully we can keep that up.
Do you know what's kind of attributing to that sort of belief in the Weyburn Red Wings and how you guys have came together? What's been the biggest driving factor towards it?
I think Cody Mapes here just motivates us a lot, and we're really confident in our goaltending in the back end, which helps. I mean, we have 3 great goaltenders. We had a 16-year-old come in against L'Orange there and pull out a win. So I think that's definitely a huge contribution to our confidence in the team. And yeah, we like I said, four solid lines, great D, and we're just super confident. Yeah, going in here.
Winning always helps too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
It makes everything feel good. And another element too, and obviously in this world we live in of fantasy sports and ESPN and TSN and whatever, people see trades as just names on a screen, and obviously for a human being it's never as simple as that. And for you, moved from L'Orange to Weyburn, I understand maybe you had some familiarity with a guy or two in Weyburn too that maybe helped, but what was that kind of like, trying to figure out where you might be and the turmoil that might have been for you, and sort of how it was for you to land in Weyburn in the first place?
Yeah, no, obviously super excited when I heard I was coming here. Had 2 buddies here that played hockey with, grew up with, and so that was big for, I guess, being comfortable coming into a new team. And yeah, definitely it's been awesome. I couldn't be happier. Great coaches here and great teammates. The guys are awesome. So yeah, super happy.
For sure. And then just the last question for me, Ryley, and really appreciate your time. Again, it was, you've been involved in tight playoff races and every game mattering and whatnot before, but for Weyburn, I guess since the new year almost, maybe it's got to feel like every game is a playoff game. I know it's that way for the team that I work for, and I'm sure it is for Yorkton and Melville and everybody sort of down there trying to get into the playoffs and solidify it. So how much fun is it that every time you drop the puck, it's kind of a playoff kind of life or death type game?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, a big push coming up here. We're trying to climb the standings as high as we can. We're not satisfied just coming 8th. We want to get as high as we can. And yeah, it was awesome. Starting the new year against Estevan, that really sets the toll for that playoff atmosphere, especially playing those guys. Our rivals. So yeah, every day is a must win, and we know that, and that's preached here. So sure.
Ryley, you mentioned to Jamie earlier today that you're a friend of the show. You do watch it from week to week, so you must know which segment's coming up next. It's time for Rory's Rapid Fire. Are you ready?
Yeah. I'm ready.
All right, I actually got 5 for you today, so we're gonna rifle. We're gonna rifle them in. Obviously, the KFC buffet in Weyburn is legendary. How many times are you going back up to refill your plate?
You know what? I'm embarrassed to say it. I actually haven't even checked it out yet. I was there once. I know.
Figure it out.
I was there once and I just grabbed some popcorn chicken. That was it. But maybe after this, I'll have to go grab some.
His body's a temple. He's got to skate like he does. It's hard to skate like he does with that much popcorn.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's right. Well, we'll wait for your second appearance on the show to then follow up with that question and see how many times you went back up.
Sounds good.
Zombie apocalypse, 2 teammates that are with you. You 3 got to survive. Who you taking?
Oh, wow. Give me Ian Meyer and Jake Kalen.
Beautiful. Which teammate would you least trust to put on speakerphone in front of people when they call you?
I'm going to have to go with Jackson Hassman.
Of course, you're known as Wheels, one of the fastest guys in the league. Who has a chance to beat you in a race on the ice on the Weyburn Red Wings?
I mean, we have quite a few fast guys here. Give me Ty Mason. He actually has some sneaky speed on breakaways. there's been times where the puck is kind of in a little bit of a battle there on the blue line, and he just takes off away from the defender. So give me him.
Absolutely great choice. And final one, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much grief do you guys give Nick Nielsen, our good friends, on road trips and around the arena?
Not much. We're pretty nice to Nick. I guess there's sometimes we, mess around with him. He's a really good guy to have some fun with. So I guess not too often, but a good amount.
Well, maybe you should give him a little bit more grief. We'd be okay with that.
Up those numbers a bit.
Up the numbers
Those
a
are rookie
bit.
numbers. You got to get that up.
All right, will do.
Ryley, I'll leave you with this one final hockey question before you go. You guys have the Flin Flon Bombers on Thursday. You guys are playing some great hockey. What's going to be key for you guys to be successful on Thursday?
Yeah, I think just playing fast. That's kind of what has led to our success. Getting in on the forecheck, playing fast, moving the puck, and getting shots on net. So I think that's going to be huge. And yeah.
Well, Ryley, we really appreciate the time. I know you got practice coming up, but thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. And best of luck this week with your 2 home games.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys.
That is Weyburn Red Wings forward Ryley Morgan. Great chats, great questions on the rapid fire.
Yep.
You keep upping your game each and every week with the rapid fire. We enjoy it. All right, well, coming up after the break, we have some business to do. We got to announce players of the week, and we're going to have another round of Buy It or Sell It. So we'll have that right after the break. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
Make way for the first ever Chevrolet Silverado ZR2. With Multimatic shocks, rugged 33-inch tires, and front and rear electronic locking differentials.
Dude, this is awesome, but we should get back to work. This good? Perfect.
If you're gonna work remote, work remote. Find new workspaces. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
You wouldn't take the ice without protective wear. So why would you take to the job site that way? The SCSA is proud to partner with the SJHL.
Saskatchewan, you know SaskTel, because we're everywhere, keeping you connected to your family and friends, to your history and culture, to those traditions that make us who we are. SaskTel cares, always has, always will, because we're dedicated to our home.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Jamie, Rory, and Jeromy. Thanks so much for joining us here on this sunny Monday here in Saskatchewan. What a great chat.
Great interview. I was just going to say, yeah, fantastic.
Phenomenal.
Like, I would put that, we've had a lot of great interviews this year. I'd put that top 3.
We also love when players say that they're fans of the show. They're like, oh man, I get to be on. Yeah, we watch that every week. Yeah,
100%.
We really appreciate it. So
you get
thanks, Ryley.
You get bonus points when it comes to the ranking of the interviews if you say you're a fan of the show. We have some business to do before we get into buy it and sell it, and that is we are going to announce this week's players of the week, which I'll say a little tricky this week because of the lack of games. There wasn't too many games to go off of, but regardless, there were still some great performances. So let's start, Nugsy, with SGU MVP of the week. He is no stranger to awards. No. He's no stranger to putting the puck in the back of the net, and that's Keon Bell of the Battleford's North Stars, a past guest on SJHL Weekly. 4 goals, 1 assist this week, 5 points in 2 games. Pretty good week for Bell.
Yeah, ring the bell, as Marty Martinson would say. 42 goals now in 40 games. He's on pace for 59 to try to smash his uncle's record, as Rory was talking about. They had wins over Notre Dame and Melfort, and I pointed it out during the game against Notre Dame in the intermission. I was like, man, he looks like Connor Bedard looks in the Regina Pats, in the Dub right now, does Keon Bell in this league. So good for you, Keon. He's unstoppable sometimes.
Would you say that he's been taking liberty with the opponent's goaltending?
What do you mean by that?
A Liberty Bell? I don't know. Not as good as
He's unreal. He's been unreal.
I wonder if Marty's used that reference this year.
Wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't either.
He's firing 10 a second.
Yeah, and just to add to the Bell talk too, is he also had a hat trick the night before, or the afternoon before, on the Wednesday at the showcase. Yeah. I mean, an unreal week for Keon Bell. So congratulations, Keon, on SGU MVP of the week. Moving on, Rory Sastel, goalie of the week. We talked about it a little bit. He had cooled off after his hot start to the year, but Caleb Allen with the Yorkton Terriers, outstanding performance this week. A 46-save win in that 3-2 overtime win over Weyburn.
They're going to need him to be the goalie that had the Yorkton Terriers on a 5-0 or 6-0 start, whatever it was, to the beginning of the year, right? He hadn't won since December 13th, you told me, Nugsy, so it's a long time, but a 46-save performance in that victory. They're going to need him to be their best player from here on out if they want a chance to try and catch either Weyburn or Nipawin.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too.
And he was in that game.
And remember how hot of a start he got off to this year, where everyone was like, well, who is this guy?
Exactly.
They were perfect going into the showcase.
Yes, they were. And then they won their first game of the showcase, and then they suffered their first loss to the Kindersley Clippers, who have picked up their first win. But regardless, congratulations to Caleb Allen, Sastel goalie of the week, 46-save win over the Weyburn Red Wings Saturday night. Nugsy, we're going to stick with the goalies for Direct West Rookie of the Week, and kind of going back to Weyburn, it's Eric Kale, 37 saves, and the cool part about this story, it was his first win in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League on Friday night against La Ronge.
Yeah, good for him. He's an 06, so he's got lots of time to grow. But again, he's kind of got 2 great goalies in Dazna Mitchell and Shep Oyster there in Weyburn, and they got some guy named Thomas Suhanik up in Tri-City. Obviously, we all learned about him during the World Juniors with Team Czechia and how good Suhanik is. So he's kind of stuck behind a few guys this year in terms of playing time. But he got an opportunity and he took it. That's all you can ask. He hadn't played since November the 19th was his last start, so just tough for minutes. But for a guy to not play that much and to show up, on February 1st, it was his birthday, so happy birthday too to Eric Kale, and you got yourself a win, and you got yourself a Rookie of the Week award. Good for you.
Sure. It's okay to have a season where you're more practice than playing, I guess.
Absolutely.
When's the last time we've seen a 16-year-old goaltender really get a majority of the starts in the SJHL? It just doesn't happen, right?
Not often, no.
But Eric Kale has shown promise as to why the Weyburn Red Wings drafted him to be a really good goaltender in the future wherever he plays.
Yeah, 100%. And like you mentioned, he's got a lot of good goalies, whether he be called up to the Western Hockey League or the 2 goalies that they have in Weyburn. He's got a lot of good goalies to lean on for help, advice, to get better. But regardless, congratulations, Eric Kale, 37 saves, and you are a Direct West Rookie of the Week. And finally, Rory, Super U Defenseman of the Week. And it was funny, I think, 2 weeks ago or so, we were talking about Tynan Ewert to the Balford's North Stars, and we were surprised he had not been named Defenseman of the Week.
Was it not last week that he won it? Or
he was Defenseman of the Month.
Oh, maybe that was it. Month. Okay.
So I think it was 2 weeks ago he was Defenseman of the Week. Last week he gets named Defenseman of the Month. And again, he's Super U Defenseman of the Month, or a week, for this week.
Yeah, he's stockpiling them now, right?
Yeah.
About a 5-game point streak will do that for you. And now 7 points up over Xander Stewart for that defenseman scoring league lead, which if you want to go on a bit of a hard, deep dive back to our first show, I believe I did say he will lead the SJHL in defensive scoring. So he's now 7 points clear of Xander Stewart to the Nipawin Hawks. But a great week for him and definitely one of the premier blue liners in the SJHL. Can't even argue about that.
And just like most players on that Team Gold at the SJHL, MJHL Showcase, Tynan Ewert looked very good in those 2 games as well. So in recap, SGU MVP of the week, Keon Bell of the Battleford North Stars, 4 goals and 1 assist.
Do we know how many that is for him now, players of the week? Like on the top of your head? It's got to be 3 now at least.
I would say,
right?
I was going to say 3 or 4.
3 or 4
I think
now
it's
for
3
Bell.
though. I think that's the number I was leaning to.
Another hat trick for Keon
that's right.
Bell.
Yeah.
And SaskTel goalie of the week is Caleb Allen of the Yorkton Terriers. And I think for Caleb,
he's going to have a few.
I think that's his 3rd goalie of the week as well for SaskTel goalie of the week. And of course, 46 save performance over the Weyburn Red Wings on Saturday. Direct West rookie of the week, Eric Kale of the Weyburn Red Wings. Congratulations, Eric. That's his first Direct West rookie of the week. And Super U defenseman of the week, Tynan Ewert to the Battleford North Stars, 3 assists. 2nd defenseman of the week. 1st defenseman of the month. He was defenseman of the month for January.
I got a project for you. You're gonna have to go back and tabulate it, and then go on Twitter and on Facebook.
Yeah, we're going to.
And then say the leaders so far of your Player of the Week, defenseman, rookie, and goaltender are these players. Because that'd be a fun one for the fans to know.
I think
it's got to be Bell. Maybe Dole, actually. Dole could be up there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think so. Well, I mean, you look at the Battleford's number 1 line.
I mean, just Cote too has won a bunch.
Josh Cote, there's been there's been a lot of great performances when it comes to the players of the week, but we'll definitely have to tally those up for sure. Yeah. All right, let's move on to buy or sell it. We love it. Another great round of buy or sell it. Usually we do it every second week, but you guys came up with some great questions for buy it or sell it once again. So guess what? It's back for another week. So let's get right into it. First question, buy it or sell it. So buy it, you agree. Sell it, you don't. Are the 8 teams that are currently in playoff spots in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League going to make the playoffs? Nugsy, I will start with you. This will be an interesting answer. Be careful how you answer this.
I know. I gotta go see the Notre Dame guys right after the show. Right after.
Yeah. Be careful how you answer this.
Look. I'm gonna sell it. It's precarious that I'm selling it because Notre Dame, Yorkton, Melville, these teams have not proven their ability to be consistent enough to climb the 8-point gap that is between, even though Notre Dame has games in hand on Weyburn, they play each other 4 times, which is partly why I'm selling it, because they have all those games in hand. Talked about Yorkton's schedule being brutal. We'll see if Melville can go on a run. I'm going to sell it, but it's very precarious, and it's going to turn to a buy real fast if Notre Dame and Yorkton can't show me some consistency. I'm not trying to be mean. That's all I can say.
Very fair.
I'm just going to say this. I thought about this as you were answering it, because we said be careful of how you answer this. Yeah. You know how at like city councils or in politics where somebody has, a conflict of interest, they're just not involved with the question?
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't have had you answer that question. I do feel bad.
I went back and forth in my mind.
Puts you in a tough
Again,
spot.
doing the dishes. I think about these things a lot while I'm doing the dishes.
Interesting.
Yesterday doing the dishes, do I buy, do I sell, do I buy, do I sell?
Right.
And I was this close to saying buy, but I'm like, you know what? There's all these games left. There's all these games between Notre Dame and Weyburn. Why be negative? Let's be positive if you're a Notre Dame fan. But kudos to Weyburn, because they certainly, the way they're playing and the way things are going right now, they deserve it for me to say buy it, I think. But
you can be a Notre Dame broadcaster and a league pundit as well.
100% you can.
Absolutely.
And I say, I think I'm harder on Notre Dame than anybody in the entire world, personally. I don't know.
All right.
You can take your answer.
Everyone except for Jared Sitch. Never negative about him, and there's no really reason to be.
No.
Yeah, one of the elite defensemen in the league.
I got a story to tell about Jared Sitch later.
Well, we couldn't get through an episode without you, so might as well.
You said it, not me.
You'll like the story. Rory.
All right, Rory, it is your turn to answer the question.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it. I think Weyburn and Nipawin are playing too good of hockey right now. Estevan as well has a pretty easy schedule. I'm going to loop them into it, right? Estevan's played a lot of games, so there's teams that could still catch them. But 8 out of the last 11 games for Estevan are against teams below them in the standings.
Yeah.
And then Notre Dame, yes, they have games in hand, but 17 games in 36 days.
That's a lot of hockey.
Is a lot. So they're going to have to win 13 of those games.
Right.
I think so. The one asterisk I have, which is,
Love a
the
good
one
asterisk,
thing, playing devil's advocate, thinking that it's definitely still possible. Notre Dame has 4 games against Weyburn.
100%.
You got to win them, right? If Notre Dame rattles off 4 wins, and now this is like, wow, well, they're absolutely huge chance now. It just completely changes their percentages. But with the way Weyburn and Nipawin's playing right now, I will buy this stock. These 8 teams will be the 8 teams.
Yeah, I think to just add to your point is with those 4 games, I would think if Notre Dame had hopes of making the playoffs this year, they have to win at least 3 or 4 of those games.
At least 3, I would say.
To gain, and that's just to gain 4 points in the standings, right? Just to win 3 out of 4 of those games. So
win percentages of between Weyburn and Notre Dame the rest of the way. The average win percentage for the opposition for Weyburn, it's under 500. For Notre Dame, it's 55.4%. So
I got another Notre Dame for you as well. In 1-goal games, Nugsy, Notre Dame has the 4th best record in the league.
Know.
So,
good.
If they keep it close, if they're in it, they win it. And that's what they got to do.
And they've only lost 2 games in regulation all year when they score the first goal. So.
There you go. Yeah.
And it's a big game tonight for Notre Dame, but we'll get into that in a bit. All right, second question, and Rory brought up Estevan, and the next one goes to Estevan. Does Estevan drop below 6th? Rory.
Yeah, I guess I said one of my points that was supposed to be in this question and not the other question. That's okay.
You can reiterate it.
I'm going to sell this one.
Okay.
I do not think that Nipawin or Weyburn will catch Estevan. Yes, there are games in hand still.
Sure.
But Estevan's now going to be rested, man, more than any team
100%.
at this time of the year that I've ever seen. Cody Davis is going to get his feet back under him. Heard Licka's rock solid. I still think they have a couple bodies that they want to get back in. And then a point that I already said is that 8 of their 11 remaining games are against teams below them in the standings. They have 1 against Flin Flon, 2 against Humboldt. Other than that, it's everyone from 7 down. So I think Estevan's going to have a really strong finish. They're still a really talented team, and they're going to keep above Nipawin and Weyburn. So I'm selling this one.
Okay. Nugsy?
I'll be quicker. I agree. Sell it. Cade Runke injury is a problem, no question, but just perfect timing for Keegan Little to come in and be as good as he has been in all 3 zones. He's just been dynamite for Estevan since he came back from Briarcrest. Again, you mentioned it, Cody Davis will get his feet under him. Cameron Licka leads the league in shutouts. He's got 5. I'm going to sell it.
Can I throw one at you guys with that? I'm just thought of it off the top of my head. Just it kind of goes off this one a little bit. Do you think Weyburn passes Nipawin?
It's a little bit more of a buy stock for me than either of those teams passing Estevan. I think those 2 are in a battle for 7 and 8. That's my kind of opinion based off the strength of schedules. And Weyburn, I believe, does, outside of Estevan, have the second easiest one out of the 4 teams that are, I would put right now fighting for that 8th spot.
Except we talk about, and every team in the league is better at home than on the road.
100%.
But
100%.
Weyburn is a lot better too at home than they are on the road, and they have a lot more road games.
That is true. That is true.
So I'm going to stick with Nipawin in 7 and whoever in 8, but I'm going to stick. I think Nipawin's at least comfortable in 7 personally.
I just thought of it because you brought up the strength. You brought up the strength of schedule.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I thought, you know what, maybe because they're close, they're nipping at the heels. This point streak has changed a lot.
Nipawin's got the hardest schedule, though. I do believe out of strength of opponent, out of the remaining teams.
Well, think about their division.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
no, I know exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for sure. We alluded to it at the beginning of the show when we were talking about Laurent and their first 2 games of this 4-game and 5-night road trip. So is there concern right now in Laurent with the way that this team is playing? You touched on it, Nugsy. They're second right now, still in the SJHL standings. They have played a bunch more than teams behind them, like Humboldt, Flin Flon, even Melfort. Do you think there is concern with the Laurent Ice Wolves? Nugsy, I'll start with you.
I guess it would depend on what you mean by concern. Is there panic? No. Is Kevin Kaminsky and Kyle Schneider sitting there thinking we need to play a lot better than we are right now? Absolutely.
So are you investing money into this stock?
I'm going to buy it just because they're probably frustrated with how their team's playing. But they're not panicking. They're not like, we're going to fall apart. The season's a mess. Liam McInnes has been unbelievable since he's come back to really kind of take that place, that they needed for a veteran guy who can put up points at the top of their D-core. But certainly 40-plus shots against in 7 games in a row is not, again, a great recipe, especially in this league, especially on the road. We talk about how hard it is for them to not give up shots and scoring chances at home, but on the road, still like 40 shots plus against 7 games in a row, second most shots against per game in the whole league. Kindersley's the only team that has more shots against per game. And not a great recipe, so they're not panicking, but I'm going to buy it.
Rory?
Yeah, I kind of compare this to a stock that, it's so high risk that you don't want to invest a crazy amount of money into it, but you could see some trending things that are like, well, this stock might skyrocket, right?
It's like GameStop.
Exactly, right? So I'm going to put a little bit of money in it because I want to see that maybe, times by 100. So I'm going to buy it. I'm going to carefully buy it because it might blow up right back in my face.
Fair.
But again, they're allowing way too many shots. I think they're dependent too much on their goaltender right now in Dawson Smith. It's crazy when you think that they've allowed the second most shots against, but they've only given up the fourth most goals against at 2.98. So if we pull up the analytics for Dawson Smith, his goals save above expected, if it isn't first place in the league, it would baffle me. Because he's been absolutely insane. That's one thing. Then come playoff time, you have to win on the road. They have not been as good on the road, right? They're outscoring their opponents 109-66 at home. They're being outscored 57-74, so almost a minus 20 on the road. And if they fall at a second, which it's looking potentially could happen with the way that Humboldt, Flin Flon, and Melfort are all pushing at their heels, you're going to have to play 4 games on the road potentially. So the road woes got to get a little better. They need to clean up in front of their net, in front of Smith or Cherico defensively, and at least try to limit the shots maybe by 5 or 6 more on average. And then, although their PK has been unbelievable, they take a lot of penalties. Do you want to get into a special teams battle in the playoffs with Flin Flon, with Humboldt, with Battlefords, with Melfort? You don't. So right now, there's just those 3 glaring things that translate to troubles in the playoffs, especially if you lose home ice advantage. And that's why I would say there's reason for concern, but as Nuge said, they're not panicking. Just a couple things to clean up. They're still a really, really good team.
So here's what I'll say. Just a final point for L'Orange fans who are watching. You're going to have lots of practice on how to win on the road for the rest of the regular season because all their games are on the road except for 2 home games left in the next month and a half. So
it'll really tell the tale.
Exactly.
Right?
Lots of practice on the road.
We'll see how, I think tonight is huge for L'Orange.
Both teams,
right?
I'd say.
It's huge for Notre Dame. It's huge for L'Orange coming off of, you talked about it, a disappointing result there in Melville. They had a day off to think about it. Kelvin Kaminsky, really, really good, is getting his team fired up. Walker Jerome, incredible captain and leader. We'll see what this L'Orange Ice team is made of tonight in Wilcox. Big rink. Every game between Notre Dame and L'Orange this year has been tight. So we'll see.
All right, final one. Will Keon Bell of the Balfour North Stars hit 50 goals before March? Rory.
All right, I'm going into some algebra here, right? And pulling back my grade 10 notebook into some cross multiplication solved by X. Well, take a look at the paper here, and it's Teacher Rory now giving your studies. 42 goals in 40 games. They have 6 games left, so that's equal to X over 6. You got to cross multiply. 42 times 6 is equal to 40X. All right, so 42 times 6 is 252. Now you got to get that X off the 40, so you divide both by 40. 252 divided by 40 will be 6.3 equals X. Right. So that is how many goals he's expected to score over the last 6 games in February. Let's even round it up to 7. Right, round it up, which isn't the way you go when you're rounding numbers. It's 6.3. That gives him 49 goals before February ends. I'm selling it based off math.
Wow.
End of discussion.
Nugsy, did you understand?
Class is dismissed.
I think it makes sense.
I think I just saw that point go way above my head, way over there.
I know one viewer that will completely understand that, and that's Commissioner Kyle McIntyre with his educational background.
Good point.
Nugsy.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I'm gonna buy. Is that 42, as you said? 4 of the 6 games they have left are against teams left in this month.
Right.
Are against teams under 500. 3 of those 4 at the Access Communications Center in Battlefords. His line looks unstoppable. He's got, he's gotten all sorts of chances that he even hasn't scored, so there's even more goals going in. At this point, I'd actually be surprised. I don't know whatever the math you talked about there, but I'd be surprised at this point if he doesn't hit 50 by the end of March. He's just that locked in right now. Plus the hat trick at the showcase, so he's got about 1,000 goals in the last week.
Sure.
So
I like it. You know what? And it sometimes works, Nugsy, that you're buying your stock based off heart and your choice, which I do love. I'm going to look at the graphs and the math, and I'm going to buy my stock based off that, which tells me that it's going to be just under.
Fair enough. And just to add to Nugsy's point, he has 6 games left: 2 against Notre Dame, 2 against Flin Flon, and Yorkton and Melville. We wish him the best of luck.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
What will that put him? That'll put him at 50 goals in 46 games, which would absolutely smash his uncle's record.
It would.
51 goals in 50 games.
Yeah.
So, it would be fun to see. Yeah.
It would be very fun to see, for sure. But another great addition, a buy it or sell it. I'm still trying to figure out Rory's math, but hopefully we'll figure it out.
Tweet it out. I'll tweet it out.
Tweet it out, and I'm sure all the people on Twitter can clarify if it's right. I believe you. I think it's right.
I believe him too, but I also disagree.
Before we preview this week in the SJHL, we have to talk about the SJHL raffle on right now. I mean, guys, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. I just want to point this out. If you haven't got a gift for your loved one for Valentine's Day, there's the Polaris side-by-side. Tickets are on sale right now for SJHL, SJHLraffle.ca. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, 10 for $100. You could win a brand new side-by-side courtesy of the SJHL. Tickets are available right now, but the big thing is there's only 5,000 available. So you want to get your tickets as soon as possible. Like I mentioned, it could make a great Valentine's Day gift. Producer Clark, who's in the back, who's not on your screen, it's his wife's birthday today, so hopefully he bought tickets for. He bought SJHL raffle side-by-side tickets for his wife for her birthday. But tickets are on sale until April 23rd. The draw will be done April 27th live on SJHL Insider down at the Polaris dealership. So get your tickets now. All right. This week's a lot busier than this past week because there is no showcase. So let's get into the schedule, and it's very rare that we have a game on a Monday night.
First time of the season?
Well, other than showcase,
sure.
SJHL showcase. Yeah, it is the first time. There it is. L'Orange and Notre Dame. We talked about the importance of this one. I would say it's important for both teams. 8 o'clock, Nugsy's got the call at the dunk tank. Hounds and Ice Wolves. And Nugsy, correct me if I'm wrong, all 3 games this year between these two teams have all gone to overtime.
They've all been 3-2 overtime wins for L'Orange.
Oh, wow.
So you're saying the Hounds are due.
Absolutely.
There you go.
And Carson Bayless, I believe, has 5 goals.
You heard it here first. The Hounds are due, according to Nugsy. Then let's go to Tuesday. Another game on the schedule. L'Orange wrapping up 4 games in 5 nights. They're going to want some revenge after that Saturday game against Melville. Puck drop 7 o'clock at the Bank. And then on Wednesday, 2 games on the schedule. Melville is visiting Estevan also. And that's actually Thursday, guys. That's Thursday's game. Flin Flon's at Yorkton. The other game on Wednesday is Kindersley at Melfort. But in the grand scheme of things, guys, when you look at this week, I'll start with you, Nugsy. What are you looking at this week, and what are you keeping your eye on?
Oh, my eyes are definitely on Nipawin, Estevan, Nipawin, Weyburn. It's going to be spicy. Those are 3 teams that play relatively similar styles. Hard, physical, aggressive, in-your-face hockey, and oh boy, and that race between those 3, they're all around each other in the standings now. It's gonna mean so much for those 3 teams, and we could have a little bit more clarity on everything based on those 2 games between those 3 teams next time we all meet.
And it wasn't shown on those graphics, but into the weekend, Nipawin plays 3-3 this weekend.
Yeah, I mean
Notre Dame.
He stole my answer, but I was actually surprised that he forgot about his own team that they played the first game against on Thursday, and that's the other team that's in the mix. Right. Nipawin, Weyburn, Estevan, and Notre Dame. And Nipawin's going to play Notre Dame on Thursday. Then they're going to go play Estevan on Friday, and they're going to play Weyburn on Saturday. That's an interesting road trip for Nipawin to see where they are and kind of, as Nugsy said, see how everything shakes up. But all 4 teams that are in that little mix are going to be playing each other now.
And I'll make it unanimous. That was what I was keeping my eye on. I think that Nipawin Weyburn game, that's the one for me that I'm looking at.
I do also want to say that we talked about L'Orange, and they're they want to clean up a couple things. There's still 5 more road games straight, so they're going to play a few of them this week. Let's see how L'Orange kind of can counteract on the road here.
And if there isn't, what I've learned the last couple of years is there isn't that in terms of staffs, I think there's a bunch of coaches and teams that pay attention to our show and things that we're saying and things that people around the league are saying. But I think the Estevan staff does a really good job of using different narratives around their team to motivate their team. People saying Nipawin's going to catch Estevan. People saying Weyburn could catch Estevan. That makes Estevan people angry.
I said they wouldn't.
Believe it or not. Okay. Well, some people do. I'm just saying some people do.
I didn't.
I didn't. But my point is, they use these narratives really well in Estevan. Jason Tatarnik and his staff really pay attention to the psychology around their team. So I think that, again, that Nipawin Estevan game is going to be extremely spicy affinity plays.
Mm-hmm. And I actually, going back and building off one of the buy or sell it questions, like with Estevan's schedule down the stretch and how healthy they're going to get, I think they're going to build a lot of positive momentum going into the playoffs, and they're going to be a very tough out.
But hopefully Cade Runke is healthy. Like, hopefully he gets back soon.
Yes.
He's a big miss for them.
He is. He's a big addition, obviously. He's the captain of their team for a reason. Regardless of what game you're watching, it is going to be a fantastic week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Before we go, we have to thank our sponsors once again for all the great support. Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Cantera Seeds, RBC, SaskTel, SGU, Direct West, Tourism Saskatchewan, SGI, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Young's Equipment. Thank you so much for your support, because without their support, the show wouldn't be possible.
And also, if you want to be a guest on the show, just tell us you're a friend of the show. And we'll bring
100%.
You on. Yeah, you got to do that now, apparently.
Tweet us. Just say, we love the show, would love to be on.
And can I tell my quick Jared Sitch story?
Yeah, let's hear it. All right. You waited. All right. Get comfy.
Big shout out to Skip Deeg, Rory and Humboldt's trainer.
Oh, this is a good story, actually.
Because in the third period at the showcase, one of the games, Jared Sitch had an issue with his skate, and I'm thinking, Skip Deeg has sabotaged Jared Sitch's skate here in the third period of a game, and Skip takes Jared's skate, comes back, and it takes within minutes he fixed his skate. I said to Jared yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was, I said, how about that? I was joking that maybe Skip sabotaged it, and for Jared right away was like, that was amazing. So kudos to Skip for helping out a player on a rival team there at the showcase. That's what the showcase is all about. We're all SJHL at the showcase, and Skip, shout out, did an awesome job, got Jared back with plenty of time in the third period in that game, and Jared didn't get hurt or anything, so that's fantastic too, and his skate is better than new, he said, so kudos.
There you go.
It's been the second Skip shout out in the last 3 weeks on the show.
Way to go, Skip.
A lot of airtime.
That's awesome. Maybe Skip will be on the show.
We can bring Skip on,
let's get Skip on the show. Regardless, it's going to be a great week of hockey in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Be sure to get out to your local rink and check out all the great local action. If you can't, you can catch all the games on Hockey TV. Regardless, going to be a great week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. For Jamie Neugebauer, Rory Mcgouran, my name's Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been another great episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.